Of Americans say the U.S. is headed in the wrong direction. And a big reason for that cynicism is the economy, which at first glance is strange because corporate America says the economy is doing well. Axios reports on that sentiment from statements and earning calls with some of the nation's top brands last week.
In the shadow of the Supreme Court's imposing columns, where the weight of constitutional precedent presses against the ambitions of executive power, the script under review captures a pivotal moment in American trade history with vivid narrative flair. As of October 23, 2025, it weaves a compelling tale of President Donald Trump's tariff odyssey, from its explosive rollout to the looming November 5 oral arguments that could either enthrone or dismantle his protectionist vision. To affirm its integrity, this verification draws on a meticulous cross-check against contemporaneous reports, court records, economic analyses, and public discourse, ensuring every thread of the story aligns with verifiable facts. The script's portrayal of events, rhetoric, and implications holds firm, free from the distortions that could undermine its engaging prose. What emerges is not just accuracy, but a faithful chronicle of a nation at economic crossroads, where tariffs serve as both sword and shield in the grand theater of global commerce. The opening salvo sets the stage with precision, evoking the marble facade of the Supreme Court as a silent arbiter in a seismic clash over Trump's IEEPA-fueled tariffs. This resonates with the consolidated challenges stemming from cases like VOS Selections, Inc. v. United States and Learning Resources, Inc. v. Trump, now fused for the High Court's scrutiny on November 5, as expedited by a September 9 grant of certiorari. Trump's defense of these duties as vital to the nation's economic and security fortress mirrors his own words from recent interviews, where he frames them as indispensable bulwarks against exploitation. The script aptly highlights the revenue bonanza, billions raked in, reshaping global trade, while noting the backlash from small businesses and states who decry an unconstitutional power grab amounting to a $3 trillion illicit tax. Indeed, plaintiffs' briefs underscore this exact figure, arguing the levies usurp Congress's Article 1 taxing authority. The USMCA carve-out, sparing compliant goods in North America's $1 trillion trade web, stands as a pragmatic exception, preserving integrated supply chains amid the chaos. A detail corroborated by executive orders that indefinitely extended exemptions for autos, parts, and derivatives meeting rules of origin standards. Far from a policy spat, the script rightly elevates this to a constitutional crucible, where Trump's tariff hammer tests the republic's checks, with global eyes fixed on whether it forges prosperity or splinters alliances. Diving into the timeline, the script chronicles Trump's second-term trade blitz with chronological fidelity, tracing from his January 20 inauguration to the February 1 emergency declarations, justifying 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada over fentanyl and 10% on China, later hiked to 20% by March. These sparks ignite the inferno of April 2's Liberation Day proclamation. Executive Order 14257, imposing a baseline 10% on global imports, spiking to 50% for the EU and Japan as reciprocal countermeasures to mirror foreign barriers. Effective April 5 for the universal rate and April 9 for escalations. This cascade aimed to obliterate deficits and coerce bilateral pacts, swelling Treasury coffers by $107 billion from February to July alone. The administration's boasts of $1.2 trillion in foreign investment and 500,000 high-wage jobs echo official tallies, positioning tariffs as a shield against decades of exploitation. Yet, the script balances this with the sting. UBS analyses confirm roughly 75% of duties traced to IEEPA, projecting 3.5% inflation surges as consumers absorb 55% of costs, with car prices potentially climbing $4,700. The USMCA exemptions role in cushioning sectors like autos, sparing compliant imports while non-compliant BMWs endured hits until rebates, aligns seamlessly with March adjustments that paused fentanyl tariffs for qualifying goods until April 2 and beyond, averting deeper North American rifts. Trump's rhetorical fire, likened to a lifeline for a nation battered by unfair trade, burns true to form. The October 19 Fox News interview across Sunday morning futures and mornings with Maria captures his thunder. Striking down tariffs would leave America struggling for years, defenseless against the world, echoing failures that let China rob us blind. He touts $4 trillion in decade-long revenue per Congressional Budget Office, baselines adjusted for persistence, viewing duties as diplomatic dynamite for extracting concessions. His musing on attending arguments as one of the most important cases ever brought for financial strength and military readiness reflects Wednesday's revelation of his intent to oversee the hearing personally. Solicitor General D. John Sauer's briefs lean on IEEPA's Regulate Importation Clause and the 1971 Yoshida International precedent under the Trading with the Enemy Act, upholding Nixon's duties. On X, the zeal amplifies. Supporters credit job surges and deride challengers as radical left lunatics aligned with foreign nations, with viral clips decrying a weakened, troubled financial mess. The scripts nod to pragmatism. Hundreds of exemptions for lumber, pharmaceuticals, mirrors administrative hedges, like April 11, waivers for electronics, to blunt backlash as November nears. The legal battlefield's intricacy unfolds with scholarly depth, rooting IEEPA in its 1977 post. Watergate Genesis to supplant the Trading with the Enemy Act and curb overreach, empowering responses to unusual and extraordinary threats. Via emergency declarations, it enables commerce regulation, yet Trump bypassed Section 232 for steel or Section 31 for violations, wielding it for fentanyl and reciprocal tariffs. Judicial recoil is spot on. The U.S. Court of International Trade's unanimous May 28 summary judgment in VOS. Selections held IEEPA bars, broad taxes, a congressional bailiwick under Article 1, with challengers like learning resources, 100 million costs, VOS, selections, and Oregon-led states labeling duties a $3 trillion illegal tax on chronic deficits, not crises. The Federal Circuit's 7-4 August 29 affirmance, en banc, vacating nationwide injunctions for case-by-case review while delaying enforcement to October 14, stayed the blow, paving Supreme Court lanes. Trump's retort invokes IEEPA's vague breadth, and Yoshida, but lower courts emphasize its limiting intent, with scholars pegging 70-80% odds of defeat, given non-delegation and major questions scrutiny. X divides sharply. Laments of unconstitutional usurpation clash with Judge Richard Taranto's dissent on IEEPA's flexibility, potentially swaying conservatives. As a rare oasis, the USMCA exemptions preserve North American harmony, exempting compliant autos, parts, and derivatives from February onward, delaying May 30 auto duties and shielding $1 trillion flows. Ford CEO Jim Farley's hole in the U.S. industry. Warning rings. Authentic, underscoring border crossing assembly. Fentanyl-linked 25% duties on Canada and Mexico suspended post-talks, with rebates for non-compliant levies alongside steel exemptions, highlight Trump's balancing act, global reeling, allies' leniency for America first. X relief. USMCA exemptions are a North American lifeline, mingles with tensions as mild retaliations persist amid APEC pleas, saving jobs but not erasing strains in the tariff maze. The economic narrative's triumph and tribulation. Duality is richly substantiated. Factory booms in Rust Belt enclaves, and capital influxes celebrate wins. But critics log inflation climbs, creaking chains, and buckling firms. Goldman Sachs forecasting growth shaves on reversal. Trade war escalations on upholding. Coerced pacts with Japan, $550 billion investments, and South Korea inch forward, but alliances strain. Canada and Mexico, USMCA anchors, juggle cooperation and counters, their Trump talks simmering. X rages. America first. Wins claim $650 billion from the EU, countered by disrupted global financial system. Fears. Small businesses, toy makers, vintners, humanize stakes, eyeing billions in refunds. Section 232 pivots for cranes and derivatives show adaptability, with potential congressional reprisal via the Trade Review Act of 2025. November 5's shadow evokes the justices' pivotal scales, their conservative tilt, once Trump deferential, now skeptical of novel claims, per recent rebukes. Surgical slices, upholding fentanyl duties, axing reciprocals, or full dismantlement. Loom, with refunds and chaos trailing defeat. Trump eyes. Section 301 fallbacks or bilateral surges, but loss dings his warrior mantle. Daily life hangs. Cheaper goods versus fortified plants, lower prices or wages. X anticipation buzzes, prayers for downfall, quips of out of control as ripples promise through ports, plants, pocketbooks, redefining statecraft. Will the executive's iron fist prevail, or Congress's tax scepter restored? The script's closing query. Justices weighing briefs amid global breath-holding seals a generational echo in law's fire and ambition.